Imagine a quiet suburban street, a row of cozy houses, manicured lawns, and friendly neighbors exchanging pleasantries. It's the kind of place where everyone knows each other's names, kids ride their bikes after school, and the biggest drama is usually over who forgot to bring in their trash bins. But what if I told you that behind the idyllic facade of one such neighborhood lurked secrets so dark, they would forever shatter the lives of everyone involved? This is the chilling true crime story of betrayal, obsession, and murder that unfolded when a husband's affair with the neighbor's wife spiraled out of control. Welcome to Criminology Case, where we uncover the most twisted and shocking stories you've never heard. Buckle up, because this one is going to leave you speechless. It all began on Maple Grove Lane, a seemingly idyllic cul-de-sac in the heart of a small Midwestern town. Among the residents were two couples who appeared to have it all, Jack and Susan Carter and their neighbors, Tom and Emily Peterson. Jack and Susan had been married for 10 years and were raising two young children. Jack worked as an insurance agent, while Susan managed the household and volunteered at the local community center. Tom and Emily, on the other hand, were newlyweds. Tom was a contractor, often busy with his construction business, and Emily worked as a yoga instructor. The Carters and the Petersons quickly became friends. Their houses were side by side and their lives intertwined effortlessly. Barbecues, game nights, and weekend get-togethers became the norm. To outsiders, it seemed like the perfect suburban friendship. But behind closed doors, cracks began to form. Cracks that would soon explode into a nightmare. Jack Carter was charismatic, charming, and had a knack for making people feel special. Emily Peterson, with her bright smile and carefree attitude, was no exception. What started as innocent conversations over the fence soon turned into lingering glances and flirtatious texts. Neither intended for it to go any further, but the pull between them was undeniable. Their affair began under the guise of friendly outings. Jack would tell Susan he had late-night work meetings, while Emily claimed she was attending yoga retreats. In reality, the two were meeting at a nearby motel, their trysts becoming more frequent and reckless. They justified their actions, telling themselves they were meant to be, that their spouses just didn't understand them. But their selfish choices were sowing seeds of destruction that would soon erupt. As their secret relationship deepened, Jack and Emily began taking greater risks. They exchanged gifts, created elaborate lies to cover their tracks, and even made plans for a future together. Their deceit not only created tension within their own marriages, but also caused subtle shifts in the dynamic between their families. Friends and neighbors started noticing that Jack and Emily often seemed overly friendly with each other, sharing private jokes and prolonged conversations at social gatherings. Yet no one dared to voice their suspicions. Susan Carter was no fool. Jack's behavior had changed. He was distant, distracted, and constantly glued to his phone. Emily's demeanor also shifted. She seemed more withdrawn from her husband, Tom. Tom, though hardworking and often preoccupied, began to sense something was off. Late-night whispers, hushed conversations, and unexplained absences painted a picture he couldn't ignore. One evening, Susan decided to follow Jack. He'd told her he had a business dinner, but something about his tone didn't sit right. She tailed his car, keeping a safe distance until he pulled into the parking lot of a rundown motel. Her heart sank as she watched him enter a room, and moments later, Emily Peterson walked in after him. Susan's world shattered in an instant. Susan grappled with a mix of emotions, betrayal, anger, and a deep sadness. She spent hours sitting in her car outside the motel, replaying memories of their marriage and wondering how they had arrived at this moment. When Jack returned home later that night, Susan's confrontation was raw and explosive. Her accusations were met with weak denials and eventual admissions of guilt. Jack begged for forgiveness, promising to end the affair and repair their marriage. But Susan's trust was irreparably broken. Susan wasn't the only one who had discovered the truth. Tom, too, had grown suspicious. One day, he checked Emily's phone while she was in the shower. What he found were explicit texts and photos exchanged between her and Jack. Tom's rage boiled over. He confronted Emily, who tearfully admitted to the affair but claimed she had ended it. However, Tom's anger was not so easily appeased. He began to fixate on Jack, blaming him for tearing apart his marriage. Tom's fury manifested in alarming ways. He started showing up unannounced at Jack's office, glaring at him through the glass windows. He left threatening notes in Jack's mailbox, and once, late at night, he slashed the tires of Jack's car. The tension in the neighborhood was palpable, with both families avoiding each other as much as possible. Yet the proximity of their homes made complete separation impossible. Susan and Tom's interactions also took a dark turn. Bonded by their shared betrayal, they occasionally found themselves confiding in each other. What started as venting sessions quickly became a dangerous alliance, fueled by their mutual hatred for Jack and Emily. Rumors began to swirl in the neighborhood about the increasingly volatile dynamics between the two families. Jack and Emily's affair might have ended, but the fallout was only beginning. Susan filed for divorce, and Tom started drinking heavily. The once close neighborhood became a battleground of icy glares and whispered accusations, but the worst was yet to come. One fateful night, Tom decided he'd had enough. Fueled by alcohol and resentment, he armed himself with a hunting knife and marched over to the Carter's house. He was determined to confront Jack and make him pay for ruining his life. What he didn't know was that Susan had moved out, leaving Jack alone in the house. Jack was sitting in the living room when he heard the banging on his door. Before he could react, Tom burst in, his face contorted with rage. A heated argument ensued, with Tom accusing Jack of destroying his marriage and his life. Jack tried to calm Tom down, but the confrontation quickly turned physical. In the struggle that followed, Tom stabbed Jack multiple times. The brutal attack left Jack bleeding out on the floor, his pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears. Realizing what he'd done, Tom panicked and fled the scene. It wasn't until the next morning that a neighbor discovered Jack's lifeless body and called the police detectives quickly pieced together the events leading up to the murder. The affair, the confrontations, and the unraveling relationships all pointed to Tom Peterson as the prime suspect. Surveillance footage from the neighborhood showed Tom entering the Carter's house that night, but never leaving until much later. When confronted, Tom initially denied everything, but eventually confessed under the weight of the evidence. Interviews with neighbors revealed the depth of animosity between the two families. Witnesses recounted seeing Tom pacing outside Jack's house in the days leading up to the murder, muttering to himself. Others described heated arguments and unusual behavior from both Tom and Susan. The entire neighborhood felt the weight of the tragedy, with many questioning how such a horrifying event could happen in their close-knit community. Tom Peterson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. During the trial, the sordid details of the affair were laid bare, shocking the community. Susan testified against Tom, recounting the devastating impact of Jack's betrayal. Emily, too, took the stand, expressing regret for her role in the tragedy. Tom's defense argued that he'd acted in a crime of passion, but the jury was unsympathetic. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The once idyllic neighborhood of Maple Grove Lane was left scarred, its residents forever haunted by the horrific events that had unfolded. This story is a chilling reminder of how secrets and betrayals can spiral out of control, leading to unimaginable tragedy. Jack and Emily's affair not only destroyed their marriages but also cost Jack his life and Tom his freedom. The ripple effects of their actions left children fatherless, families broken, and a community shattered. If you found this story as gripping as it is heartbreaking, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more compelling true crime stories. This is Criminology Case, where we delve into the darkest corners of human behavior to uncover the truth. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant.